Okay, let's dive into something that really caught our attention in the research. Picture this. You're trying to use an essential public service online, right?
Hmm.
But the language, the whole setup, it feels like trying to read code.
Yeah, totally impenetrable sometimes.
Exactly. So today we're looking at how people actually manage to bridge those gaps, often in ways you wouldn't expect. We're exploring this researcher's rich point, they called it.
An incomprehensible surprise.
Right. At NAV, Norway's welfare agency. And it sparks this whole investigation into communication into something called brokering.
And how it plays this really surprising dual role.
So our mission is to understand that intricate dance between people and institutions.
Okay, so let's start with that rich point.
Mm.
It involved a woman, Maria, who's a migrant, and her caseworker at NAV named Anne.
Right.
Maria had given digital consent for a research project, standard online form,
Yeah.
But it turns out she actually had no idea she'd joined, like none at all.
No idea. How does that even happen?
Well, her Norwegian husband usually handled all the messages from NAV. He'd read them, reply for her,
Ah, okay. So he saw the research consent, clicked yes.
presumably. And that right there, that was the rich point. It instantly threw these sociolinguistic gaps into sharp relief, especially with public services moving more and more online.
Yeah, you see how that reliance on digital stuff can create problems people don't even realize are there.
Precisely. And it leads us to this concept, health literacy brokering.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It's basically mediating content, adjusting for what they call epistemic asymmetries.
Meaning like knowledge imbalances. One person knows way more than the other.
Exactly. Bridging those knowledge gaps
Yeah.
and giving access to, the information people need. And then there's an e-health literacy broker, same idea, but with the tech skills for online systems.
So Maria's husband was acting as her broker, and on the surface that sounds helpful, right? It's like social capital.
It absolutely functioned that way. It reassured the caseworker and that Maria had resources that she could navigate the system.
And Maria herself could sort of project this image of independence, even if her husband was doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Right, but here's the twist. This brokering, it's described as Janus-faced, like the two-faced god.
Meaning it has a downside.
A big one. While it helps bridge gaps immediately, it can also subtly reproduce structural vulnerability.
How so? By making the individual seem more capable than they are, maybe, so the system doesn't step in?
Partly, yes. And it puts more responsibility back onto the individual to find their own brokers, their own solutions. Let's compare Maria with another woman, Suda.
Okay.
Maria, as we said, limited Norwegian, struggled with the NAV website, relied almost entirely on her husband for basically all official communication.
And her situation didn't really let her improve her Norwegian much, right?
No.
Work, childcare.
Exactly. Limited chances to build her own linguistic capital. So hers was a very dependent form of brokering.
Okay, so how is Suda different?
Suda had stronger Norwegian skills and, crucially, a wider social network in Norway. Her father-in-law, friends, colleagues, they all helped her build linguistic capital.
So she could handle more herself.
Yeah, she often dealt with messages directly. She leaned on her husband more for organizational things like keeping track of deadlines or just for reassurance. Plus, his work was more flexible, so he was around more.
Sounds much more self-sufficient.
She was. But even Suda hit a wall. During the pandemic, her husband was unavailable for about 4 months. No social support network for that specific task.
Oh, wow. What happened?
She ended up applying for the wrong type of benefit. And worse, she completely blamed herself. She said, "It is my fault that I made a mistake."
Ugh, that's heartbreaking. Even with better language skills and a network, the system was still too complex to navigate alone under pressure.
Exactly. And what's really telling is how the caseworkers saw things, or rather, didn't see things.
What do you mean?
Caseworkers like Anne, Maria's caseworker, and another one, Frida, they often overestimate how much clients actually understand. They seem largely unaware of the huge difference in how Maria and Suda relied on brokering.
So they just saw two clients, maybe assume they had similar levels of understanding or support?
Pretty much. And even explicitly said it was Maria's responsibility. She said it is kind of the client's responsibility to ask for help, like an interpreter.
But wait, aren't clients entitled to interpreters?
Yes, policy says they are. But Anne cited limited time and resources and competing interests at the agency, institutional pressures.
So the pressure on the caseworker leads them to what? Lower their own sense of responsibility, to kind of push it back onto the client, even if the client isn't equipped.
That's exactly what the research suggests. They decrease their epistemic stances and responsibilities. They feel less able to be the source of truth or help, despite the official rules.
And that connects directly back to structural vulnerability, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You have these overlapping issues: socioeconomic status, gender, migration status colliding with institutional demands, like everything moving online.
Which forces people into needing brokers.
But those brokers, those informal networks, aren't always reliable or fully informed, as we saw with Suda. It makes the whole system precarious for the individual.
So wrapping this up, what's the big picture here? Relying on your husband, your friends, your father-in-law, this brokering, it's clearly a vital coping strategy, especially now with so much digitization.
It can definitely empower people in the moment, bridge those immediate communication gaps.
But it's not a fix. It can mask the real problem and even make people more vulnerable if that informal help disappears or isn't quite right, like with Suda's wrong application.
Yeah, the safety net has holes, and the brokers are plugging them, but the brokers aren't foolproof.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How could public services be designed differently? How could they actually meet people where they are instead of just hoping these invisible personal networks will somehow pick up the slack for the system's own gaps?